Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to discuss how to make stem and leaf plots in Google Sheets. Much like our last example with dot plots, Google Sheets doesn't have a way to natively make stem and leaf plots like they do bar charts, histograms, and time series graphs. So we're going to have to construct our stem and leaf plot ourselves. The upside is this is going to require a lot less setup than our dot plot did. I am going to start in a similar way. I'm going to click and drag an area of my spreadsheet, and I'm going to change those borders so that they are no longer visible. So I changed the ink type to white and then just selected all borders in that area. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking at my raw data and how I can divide it into stem and leaves. So looking at this data, I have numbers from 1 to 25. So the best way to probably divide this data is between the ones place and the tens place. So this first value would be 0, 1 and have a stem of 0. Everything from 11 to 19 has a stem of 1, and everything from 20 to 25 has a stem of 2. So let's go ahead and start building that chart. I know that I have stems and I have leaves. The other thing that I know is that I want my leaves to be evenly spaced, and I probably don't want them spread out as wide as these columns are. So I'm going to shrink these columns down. Also, looking at this data, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 values in the one row. So I'm going to need a few more columns that are blanked out here. And then I'm going to come back to where my leaves start. And I'm going to grab these here. I'm going to, whoops, maybe not. I'm going to click and drag all the way out to where I stopped that shading. And then I'm going to resize our columns. I'm going to go with 40 this time. I think that'll give us a little more space between numbers and make it a little easier to read. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to enter the stems, 0, 1, and 2. And then I'm going to enter the leaves. So in the 0 row, I have 1, 4, 6, 7, and 7. In the 1 row, I have 11, 11, 12, 12, 13, 15, 15, 16, 16, 16, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19. And then in the last row, for a stem of 2, we have 20, 21, 22, 22, 23, 24, 25, 25. All right, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to click at the top where it says stems, and I'm going to drag all the way to the bottom and to the right so that all my data is highlighted. And I'm going to stick those borders back in. So I'm going to change the ink color back to black and click all borders. You'll notice that looks a little funny. So in the leaves, I think what we want to do for the leaves is just have borders around the outside. So let's re-white that out. And then for our leaves, we're going to do borders around the outside. And then I'm going to do something a little sneaky here. I'm going to click where leaves start and go all the way across and click this merge cells button. What that does is it makes that a single box. And I can go back in here and highlight that box. And then for these, I'm going to click here and select just that bottom highlight. Maybe, if we can get it to go. I think we have to do it one row at a time. So bottom and bottom. So now we have well-defined rows, like we should in a stem and leaf plot, but we don't have those bars between the individual leaves. Also, using this spreadsheet allows us to make sure that those numbers are evenly spaced, as they should be. From here on out, we're just tweaking what this graph looks like in terms of aesthetics. So I'm going to make my stems column a little smaller. I'm going to center all of the numbers in the middle of their cell. I think that looks a little prettier this way. That way that 9's not bunched up against the end. And that is a completed stem and leaf chart. Just like dot plots, we can't do it natively, but it only takes a little bit of time to make that pretty in a spreadsheet program. You will notice, much like dot plots, we don't actually need to have our raw data in the spreadsheet. You can start this stem and leaf process in a blank spreadsheet. So it takes a little bit more time to get the chart itself going, but there's less time because you don't need to do data entry. So there are some trade-offs. Much like dot plots, you can do this natively in GeoGebra. There is a stem and leaf plot command. I think it's called stem plot in GeoGebra, and it will create a stem and leaf plot from raw data. Directions for how to use GeoGebra are posted on Canvas under our course resources module. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. And otherwise, I will see you in our next video.